So obviously, we know with a lot of attention on biofuels, and here today at Ron Kindred's farm in Atlanta, Congressman Krishnamurthy came for a visit, talked about the 45Z provisions from the IRA, and one of the concerns we've had all along about 45Z is how it treats soybean-based traditional biodiesel. Of course, biodiesel, traditional fatty acid methyl ester biodiesel, renewable diesel, and SAF all have slightly different ways that they're made and have different needs in the marketplace. And biodiesel is something we use here in Illinois. We use almost 300 million gallons a year here in Illinois. We have our state sales tax exemption that supports the use of that. We don't use a lot of renewable diesel in Illinois. Certainly other markets in the country do. And the Inflation Reduction Act and 45Z is very hard. The credit goes from $1 previously under the federal blender's tax credit, which had been in place since the end of the Bush administration, from that dollar down to 33 cents. And it changes from a refundable tax credit to a income tax credit, and the process to get that work is different than previously was under the blender's tax credit. And that difference has created a lot of pinch for small biodiesel plants around the country to be able to continue to make biodiesel and sell it. And we do obviously quite a bit of that here in Illinois. Use a lot of our soybeans, about over 100, oil from over 100 million bushels of our soybeans go into biodiesel in Illinois. And without that layered support, whether you have the RFS, the federal tax credit, and our state incentive all help work together to create demand in that marketplace. So one of the things we know, there's a lot of interest in reforming and fixing and making tweaks to 45Z. We're concerned that some of that isn't happening fast enough. So we're working with a coalition of a number of other folks in Washington to develop a 2-year extension of the previous federal 40A federal blender's tax credit, which would apply for $1 per gallon credit for blending of biodiesel into the fuel supply. A lot of our truck stops in Illinois, whether they're Loves or Pilots, have this on-site infrastructure already in place that was built over the last 15-20 years to be able to take advantage of that blender's tax credit, and that's driven a lot of demand use for biodiesel in Illinois. We want to make sure that that remains a viable option for the next few years while we continue to figure out everything and all the pieces that go into 45Z and whatever the next generation of federal tax policy that supports biofuels is going to be. We definitely view this as a stopgap measure to help make sure that the biodiesel industry remains viable.
So to protect that industry,
yes,
we want to say, hang on here, let's get it all right, and
yep.
Okay, make a 2-year delay here before we do
Well,
anything.
it's not necessarily a delay. It would be in concert with 45Z, but we know that there's been some delay in the guidance on 45Z coming out the tailing days of the Biden administration. Of course, we know there's uncertainty in the Trump administration over how exactly they want to handle those policies going forward. One thing we know is that uncertainty has caused a lot of biodiesel plants across the Midwest to shut down and not buy soybean oil, and therefore not support the products from farmers. So we want to make sure that they have the opportunity to turn the lights back on, turn the operations back on, at least for the certainty through the end of all of 2025 and 2026, hopefully, and that any future discussions of what the next generation and the fixes to 45Z look like, and hopefully we can hopefully let that subside then once we know we have a little more certainty about where that market's going to be into the future.